The Trader Cobb Crypto Show, talking business in blockchain.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Trader Cobb Crypto Show. Today's guest, well, he's all the way from LA, Los Angeles, as he comes through a very wet winter into a wonderful summer. I hope you get, mate. We've got Brad Yasar, who is a CEO of Beyond Enterprises, and he's going to have some pretty cool stories to tell us today, I'm sure. Thanks for being on the show today, mate.
Thank you for having me.
Excellent. Now, look, first things first, let's kick off with a bit of an intro to yourself, where you've come from. I know you started in the blockchain space about 2016, but what sort of led to where you're at, or what led to you discovering and getting involved in blockchain in 2016?
Well, I have to go back a few decades to answer that question. So I was born in Turkey, and I got my first computer when I was 6 years old.
Wow.
And my dad gave me a choice between a bike and a computer. I already had a bike, so computer was the obvious choice. But started getting involved with programming right shortly thereafter, because there wasn't a lot of software available at those times to just download for free or purchase or get. I mean, it was a pretty long ordeal to get a boxed software from Europe or the States to Turkey to just enjoy it. And so that led to me selling my first software at age 9 and selling that company before I was 16. So that was my foray into software, hardware, and it also kind of introduced me to cryptography, because at those days there were copyright protection on all the software, so you couldn't make copies of it. I wanted to make copies of the software, so that was the first introduction to learning about cryptography and encryption and hashes and how to work with them or around them, if you like it. So that's the start of the journey. Then, of course, there was not much happening in the cryptocurrency or blockchain space for quite some time. I mean, the earliest white papers were late 90s, and my involvement with blockchain was in 2009. I received 3 packages from a friend of mine who was a CTO, and he said, compile these, you're going to love it. I did compile them, and I did fall in love. One was a Bitcoin node, one was a wallet, and the other one was a miner. So that was my start. I wasn't some visionary, or I didn't think this was going to change the world. I was just a gamer and a technologist who received 3 unknown files to compile and accepted the challenge, knowing that they might have been viruses or some keylogger. Who knows? I mean, your friends play practical jokes on you all the time. So yep. I checked the code, compiled them, started mining Bitcoin. It was very intriguing for me, because I have a gaming background, so digital assets and currency was not a new idea. It wasn't shocking that something that has no physical presence can have value. But Bitcoin was quite interesting because of mining and because of the structure of the blockchain. So that's, led me into the community, the industry. I dabbled a little bit with Litecoin when it came out, then participated in the original sale of Ethereum after bumping into Vitalik at an event where he had these printouts that he was passing, stating his mission and what he, wanted to do with Ethereum. So I thought from 2010 till maybe 14, I looked at a bunch of opportunities to bring a business model because that was my hobby on the side. I mean, I wasn't doing mining as a professional endeavor, or I wasn't, playing around with the blockchain for a professional reason. And I wanted to build a business around it, because more I interacted and used it, more exciting it was, especially in the money transfer and settlement space, where my wires would take 48 hours to land, and with Bitcoin it was, I mean, in the early 2010-11, it was minutes immediately. So that gave me a couple ideas. I pitched those ideas around, tried to talk to people who I had done business with or who had invested in projects that I was involved with, and no one was interested. It was just like, that's not a business, that's not real, go away kind of conversations, even from people who knew me and whom I had a relationship with. So shelved that, participated in Ethereum, couple other projects that my friends built, like Tether or Mastercoin or things like that, that were the original ICO, the original stable coin. But I was never a voice. I was never vocal. I was never present. I was always in the shadows, minding my own business, just keeping up. And in 2016, two things happened. I was running a very successful digital marketing agency, and we parted ways with my business partner, which was a blessing in disguise, because had that not happened, I wouldn't look for what's happening and what's going on in different industries, different areas of technology that I felt strongly connected to. And once that happened, I took 3 months off, just traveled a little and just looked at what was happening. And everywhere I went, there was a little bit more conversation around Bitcoin and blockchain than the year before or the year before that. And it was, subtle, but enough of an increase that made me think maybe now is the right time. Maybe now, if I presented a solid idea, that it would work. And so we started looking around, and then I realized a lot of other smart people, or at least people who were familiar with the technology, were thinking the same thing, because the number of projects launching was accelerating. So then the thinking went to, okay, instead of launching our own project and just having a very narrow focus without knowing if that's the right project to launch and work on, we could touch multiple projects by doing advisory work. I had also just finished building a team of 24 people for the digital marketing agency, so I wasn't really looking forward to starting from scratch and building a team again. So I said, okay, advisory is good. I can do it with a very small team. And we started what's now known as Beyond Enterprises. And initially, our focus was just advisory, pure advisory. And slowly, after a couple of projects, we realized good advice without good execution does not lead to much. So started adding execution teams. We added a dev team. We added a marketing team. We added some legal support. We added community management globally, because that's, in essence, one of the pillars of any blockchain project. Yep. Well, any business, period, but especially important in our space, because without a community, you don't have the support structure to grow your business, grow your project. So, again, in the past 3 years, we've touched over 50 projects, some very large, well-known, other lesser-known ones, but very, we're very proud of every single one of them. And I think last May, when we quickly did a market check, the market cap of the projects we contributed to was over $17 billion.
Wow.
So that's right now almost 15%, 12-15% of the market. Obviously, it's probably lower now since the market corrected even more. I suspect if we ran the numbers again, it'll be somewhere around 10, but still means
solid.
the meaningful contribution. And in the process, I been investing in technology for a decade plus. So focused everything to blockchain, realigned our VC fund to be just a crypto VC fund, and more importantly, I started seeing opportunities to give back and share my experience, my journey, but also put blockchain in a positive light. Instead of all the doom and gloom and negative news that you see, I wanted to be a voice that is positive and talks about all the positive things that are happening and all the positive changes this technology and community can bring to the world. So increased, traveling and participation in the conferences, and here we are. After 1 million miles traveled, I'm talking to you.
Yeah. Well, all the way around the world, probably 65,000 times. I get it. Lots of travel goes on with a lot of people in this space. And it's highly commendable as to how much you've actually pulled together and the market cap based on, the projects that you've brought in. So there must be some really big ones that have survived and prospered throughout this bear market, which is fantastic to hear, mate. One of the questions I've got for you, and it's sort of leaning towards the VC side as opposed to the advisory side, which probably go hand in hand in some certain extent, I would imagine. What sort of things are you looking for at the moment, given the market where it is? Are you looking for new projects? Are you investing into old projects and trying to restructure them and rebrand them and bring them back to the market with maybe a bit more life? What's the focus of the VC side of it at the moment for you guys?
Well, that's a really good question and really interesting too. So when this is not our first crypto winter. We've been through a few of these. When the market goes down and there's a correction, of course, outside money pulls out and starts waiting to see what's going to happen next. When you have a bull market, everyone's coming in at whatever price into whatever project because it's a bull run. Yes. When you have a bear market, people are very cautious. So we did two things. Our mission statement for the VC side was invest crypto and crypto in synergistic projects. So instead of saying we're just going to do infrastructure, we wanted to do infrastructure plus whatever platform is built on it, plus whatever dApps are built on it. So basically nurture the whole vertical in specific industries, as opposed to saying we're only doing new blockchains, or we're only doing new protocols, something like that. The second change was we started, the first change is we started building our own projects. So when there's a crypto winter, we build. We like building stuff. I love building stuff. Obviously, as investors, we support the progress and success of the projects we get involved with. But when the caliber and the quantity of projects that are available is reduced the way it has been in 2018, we look at areas that we would have invested in that no one's building in and create internal project teams and spin out those businesses. So we've built 3 projects in the past year. We have a eco impact project with carbon credits. We have a jobs platform that's gonna take out Upwork and Fiverr and all those platforms that take 30-40% of someone's wages just because they're on a platform. Ours is less than 1% because it's all crypto, and you can do that with a DAO model.
Because it can be, right?
And the third one is is an automated trading platform, because I lost my grandmother last year, and before we lost her, my dream was to create or invest in a project basically that she can put all her retirement savings in and not know anything about crypto, not even know how to spell Bitcoin, but at the end of the day, look at that retirement account or savings account, however you want to qualify it, and smile because it returns day after day after day profits on her retirement fund. So that idea turned into a more sophisticated sophisticated, more institutional trading platform for crypto markets. And now we're connected to 84 or maybe more, 86 of them right now that we pull order books from. And we built this very intelligent machine that decides what type of trades to do at any given time and can handle institutional scale of funds. So we've been building. On the investment side, of course, we kept investing throughout 2018.
Yeah, good time.
Not as intensely as 2017, but and the focus switched a little bit from tokens coins to more equity plus tokens coins. Because in 2017, it was exciting to participate in a project like EOS.
Yeah.
You know, that was it's a great project. Again, I'm a firm believer in what they're doing. However, there was an equity component because it's a foundation. It's the Ethereum Bitcoin model where they want the community to keep building it once it's launched. If a similar project came now, I would probably say I need equity and don't do a foundation. Do an operating company maybe with a foundation under it to funnel all the economics into, if that's what you want. But I want to invest in some equity because most of our equity investments have proven to survive the nuclear winter, and majority of the tokens have fallen. Now, it's important where you got in. So even in this down market, we're still profitable on most of our investments, but it's not the return we're looking for.
That's it.
So it doesn't really put a smile on.
Yeah, I hear you. And look, when you talk about a lot more funding, like private equity,
that's not the
sort of
investment thesis.
Oops, sorry, I just lost you for a second there. All right, sorry, you're back.
Can you hear me?
Yep, you're back. We just had a little internet glitch on your end. We went a bit robotic, but we're back again now. So one of the questions, we did see last year a lot more VCs and private equity coming into the space. And as you say, quite rightly, a lot more looking for the equity component to go with the token side of things. Do you guys do much investing into companies that are involved in the space, but don't necessarily have a token? So it's just basically an equity play.
Absolutely. We have a few investments on the fund side in companies that are using distributed ledgers or blockchain in very different ways, and it's always exciting. Like the token or a cryptocurrency is fine. It's common and accepted use, but it's not mandatory for a blockchain business. You can be a blockchain business and not issue a single token and just use the distributed model with smart contracts to accomplish a lot of the business necessities. And that's a solid investment for us because we understand the value of having that distributed model and how disintermediation usually results in a leaner business that can compete better in the marketplace.
Yeah, is there any particular areas at the moment that you said last year you built 3 companies, one of course, which you explained the trading algorithm or the trading bot or whatever you want to call that. Do you have any focus at the moment as to what sort of areas that you would like some exposure that you may not have, or that you're looking to get further exposure in sector-wise?
Exposure we don't have. Probably in the biotech space, where I think there are going to be very valid and accelerating reasons to use blockchain. We don't have much exposure in anything pharma tech, biotech, anything like that. That would be interesting if a project came and used the blockchain in a way that gave them such an advantage that compelled us to invest and take that journey with them. A deeper exposure would be probably cryptocurrencies. I'm a big believer in privacy coins.
Yep.
The same way no one is tracking the serial numbers of your paper money. Uh, I don't believe just because it's digital, people should be tracking your transactions. And that's just, I mean, obviously, there are always nefarious entities that use that for illegal or malicious ways, but so does so is the banking system and the fiat money. We're not going to stop using money just because it's used for bad by bad people. But again, a deeper involvement would be interesting, because we're backers of upcoming projects such as Beam. We believe in the value of having something like that on top of other, and of course stable coins and the opportunities they represent is also interesting. So cryptocurrencies, infrastructure, fintech, banking, money transfers, insurtech, we have good exposure, but we can of course go deeper, because once you have one or two recognized projects in one vertical, it's much easier to bring visibility to the third one with your involvement. And we're not huge check writers. You have your funds that write enormous checks because they want to come in later stages, and that's what it takes to get in. We're more early stage investors, so the network, the smart money factor is equally important as the funds we put in, and we try to be smart about those decisions.
I mean, looking at each of your investments that you've made, are you typically going in there? Is it usually millions of dollars? Are you really, like, I mean, you don't have to say this, of course, but I mean, just to get an idea of the scale and the size of investments that are going into the space at the moment, are we talking about, you're leveraging yourself more on your assets based on your team and the expertise that you bring? Or is it a bit of both where you go, look, you need a couple of $1 million, here it is, and we bring the team, let's plug in, but we need X equity in this play as well as tokens?
I'd say it's a bit of both. That's a fair assessment. I mean, it depends on what stage. Obviously, you can't go in with $2 million in the friends and family stage and take 200% of the equity, because they're raising at $1 million or like 500K. So because we like getting involved early, the initial checks are usually smaller, and then we do follow-on rounds. So I personally, as an angel investor, like seed. Obviously, if I know the people, friends and family is okay, but seed and bridge maybe an A round. And then as a VC fund, because the check sizes are bigger, we do A, B, and we haven't done any C's yet. But, so each investment is proportionate to the stage the business is at. And we like doing follow-on investments. The challenge that I've seen, having invested in over 100 companies, projects so far, is fairness. How do you create a fair cap table for everyone involved? So not one investor has too much exposure or too much control. Not one founder has too little equity or too much money that's just laying around. And it's very hard to balance that out, even for good projects. So we try not to take a huge chunk of any round, because if we do that, we know that one, the exposure is higher, and two, there's less of a support network around it. If let's say you're doing a 2 million seed round, you take one investor, now it's a partnership. Right? It's not a founder investor. Now you have a partner, and they're going to be involved with the day-to-day operations, and their networks, come with them after their investment. But that's it. Instead, if you take 10 200K checks, now you divided the risk among 10 different investors, and now you have 10 times the network. If they're equally well
connected,
well-connected people, that's going to give the project much more exposure. So I don't know which one is the best. I mean, it's it's specific to each project, each business. So again, we look at it and try to not be too demanding and say this is what we want and we're gonna get it or we're out. More
Yep.
like, hey, let's understand the ecosystem. Let's understand where we're gonna have the highest impact and invest accordingly. And if it's money, then we'll put in the money and sit on the sidelines and just watch it grow. That's okay too.
Yeah, well, there's nothing wrong with that, is there? As long as you know you've got a good team in place that can do it for you. That's what we all want, right?
Yes, yes.
Excellent. And look, what's going on in your view at the moment? Obviously, we have gone through a pretty rough period throughout 2018. 2019 is kind of consolidated a little bit. A couple of little green shoots of positivity starting to creep in, a lot more positive news, but it's only because the market's gone up a little bit. The news seems to report if today is going to be a big green candle, the news tomorrow will be bullish. If it's a big red candle, the news tomorrow will be bearish. So news can be pretty... It's a lagging indicator is what I would call it. Anyone who trades based off the news, unless you're getting it before it gets out there, you're too late. But the market has been showing a little bit more signs of strength. And now I'm not sure how interested or how much you sort of pay any attention to what's going on as the industry as a whole. I'm sure you do, but on the price side as well as the technology side, what do you see for 2019?
I believe in odd years and even years. You look at the years since Bitcoin launched, pretty steadily. You'll see even years have been bearish and odd years have been bullish.
Good.
I mean, 2017, 16, 15, 14. It's there's pretty much a pattern there. Of course, that doesn't mean anything, but I think we had enough of a shakedown of bad projects, inexperienced investors, people just in there to make a quick buck, don't really care about the community, don't really care about the industry, don't really care about anything other than what I can get out of this space today and how much. I think we're going to see a steady organic growth this year. Again, it can go out of control again if too many people come at once and think they're going to become millionaires overnight. But even if that doesn't happen, and I honestly hope it doesn't happen, we're going to see a steady growth in 2019 for a couple of reasons. One, all of the projects that launched in 2016, 17 raised enough to see the light of day. They're coming online slowly, but they're coming online. Most of the time, I've seen on the technology side good traction after year 3. So 3 to 6, 7 is when you can look at a project and say, okay, they're on the right track. They've built something. There's market demand. This is going to become a business and profitable. Or you look at it and you say, this wasn't the right call. Let's, if we can, do a pivot. Let's change stuff around because this is not going to work. So most projects are coming into that stage, which is exciting. That's going to yield some good positive market movements and news, because when a project launches and they start making money, of course, it can be captured at the token level and create really good goodwill in the space. The second is a lot of the big players that were calling Bitcoin and crypto a scam are creating their own coins now. Now, is that going to affect the market cap? Probably indirectly, not directly. But if JP Morgan launches and their internal large clients start seeing the coin movements in their private network and see how fast those transfers are happening, assuming they do it right, there's no guarantee, but assuming they do it right, you're going to see those same people start thinking about, oh, maybe I should buy some Ethereum. Maybe I should buy some Bitcoin. Maybe I'll get some Tron, whatever is in their mind or in their region. So it's going to open them up to looking at alternative investments in crypto more positively. I've seen a lot of this because I was just traveling and talked to a lot of family offices and very, very traditional conservative investors from Middle East to Asia. And the overall sentiment was, we're curious, we want to know, we want to get exposure, we don't know how, which is great. You know, when you admit you don't know something, you start learning. So there's going to be a lot of learning happening in what's exciting for me and what's exciting for the blockchain space is these are very influential investors in different industries. So once they get comfortable, you're not going to see this jump to 800-900 billion and drop to 100 because
they'll stay.
It's a money grab. If next, I firmly believe next time we hit 800-900 or a trillion market cap, it's going to be a much more stronger,
robust,
than where it was December 2 years ago.
Yeah, well, it certainly is an interesting time. I'm very happy to be involved in this space. There's a huge amount going on, and it's been an absolute pleasure talking with you, mate. I've really enjoyed going through what you guys are doing, and I look forward to talking to you again down the track. It's been an absolute pleasure, Brad, founder, CEO of Beyond Enterprises. Where can people find more information? I want them to know where they can find more information about you, mate.
Okay. Thank you for having me. So you can reach me at brad@beyondenterprises.com with a C.
Excellent. Well, thanks so much once again. We'll speak to you again very soon. Thanks everybody for watching. Bye for now.
The Trader Cobb Crypto Show, talking business in blockchain.